The new American dream is to be able to evolve and constantly develop new skill sets. You have to get off the bleachers and get on the field if you want to win at the game of life.
Welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show.
Hey gang, welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show. We've got a great YouTube exclusive teed up for you today because today you're about to get a masterclass from Ashot and Vazganavakyan. They are not only immigrants, they are amazing entrepreneurs. They are living the new American dream. And in this masterclass episode, you're going to learn not only resiliency, resourcefulness, but how they've built multiple companies. They are literally generating millions of dollars every year, and they are about to unfold exactly how you can live your new American dream as well. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So yesterday we had our half-day session for your domination, your coaching, and planned out what the next set of marching orders are for your business. I should say businesses. But before we even get there into the businesses, let's talk about how you guys end up in the United States and at what age, because again, I was 6 years old. The year was 1980, June of 1980. And we decided that we're going to escape the Soviet Union, myself and my family. I was the youngest, and my dad and mom made that decision because my brother was 19 and he was about to go into the Soviet army. And my dad was like, there's no way that the Russians are here occupying Armenia, and now my son has to go into the Soviet army. He spent 2 years putting together money to bribe the necessary people in power to be able to allow us to escape. We came to the United States, and everyone watching and listening to this knows my story of Section 8 housing, food stamps, and all that. But I worked my nuts off and created my empire. Your story is very different because you guys came here in 2001, and we all know what happened then. So why don't you pick up from there in terms of what made your mom and dad have that decision to come out here?
Yeah, so we had a good life back home. My dad was a serial entrepreneur, multiple businesses, has all his friends grown up. So he moved here when he was 45. I was 14. My brother was 13. Yeah. Well, with mom, so entire family. So we had it pretty good there. However, he knows that the American dream, the land of opportunities, because back home, it's very corrupt. So you can be on a high horse one day, and then we would be starving the next day. Something happens, the change of the government or something else. Yeah. So they left all the comfortable life that they built there for years and moved here for us, so we can really flourish, go to universities, get a proper education, and excel in life.
So that was their goal, is even though your dad was doing financially well there, again, one day you're doing well, next day you're not, depending on who goes into government because of all the corruption. Okay. Now, I remember when we lived there, and when I also went back in 1994, late 94, communism had already fallen. The water, electricity was still being rationed. When you guys lived there, was there full-time water, full-time electricity? Did things change and evolve since my time?
It's a good point. So they'll have like regular maintenance. So it was normal not to have electricity for a week or 2 weeks, twice a year or something like that, and not running water. So that's the norm. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million in the bank account or no money in the bank account. You can't escape that. So it's just a regular thing. So.
And so you're used to it, even though your dad's doing well. There's just periods of time where there's no water, there's no electricity. So that didn't obviously change since 1980.
It still happens today.
Yeah. And people think, by the way, and I should let you guys know, and this is why what's happening in our country right now in the United States is so important. They think that, well, once communism fell, all those countries that were oppressed by communism, all of a sudden were living a republic and in a democracy. They weren't. I mean, that corruption and the generation that lived under that oppression still ends up self-oppressing and self-corrupting, right? And so clearly, it had been, 5-6 years before you guys left that communism had fallen.
Even probably close to 10.
Yeah, close to 10. Yeah. Yet nothing had changed in terms of the corruption. Yeah. And so your dad decides we're making this move to give, obviously, the two of you guys are, early teenagers, 13 and 14, a chance of opportunity. So how do you guys end up making that journey to the United States?
It was a straight flight to New York, JFK,
Okay.
and then we go to Philadelphia because my dad's older brother lived in Philly.
So he had someone there.
So yeah, they moved, I think, in 1990 and 1989, something like that. And so we had someone there. My dad brought some money with us. We weren't really like broke, like with $100 in the bank account. However, in America, everything costs in dollars.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know.
Let's talk about that for a second. Last night at dinner, we were, and also during the half day, we talked about the contrast. I come in 1980. I come to the United States in 1980. We escaped, so we had to make it look like we were going on vacation from Armenia to Italy. That's what we told the government to allow us to go into Italy. And then from Italy, we went to the American consulate, and my dad said, hey, I'm a Communist Party member. We're defecting, me and my family. You can pump us for information, and then please allow us to enter as an asylum into the United States. Your experience, because communism had fallen, your dad was doing financially well. We came here to the United States with about $200 in my dad's pocket. Your family came here. Do you mind sharing how much you guys came here with?
I mean, again, my dad wouldn't tell us everything, but I think if I had to estimate, what do you think? It's like
I thought it was like around 250,000.
$250,000,
Okay.
$300,000,
Right.
which, for us, like, oh, we have money.
I mean, we could all agree that today, in today's economy, $250,000, $300,000 is a good amount of money. You would think,
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to go to Japan, Portugal, anywhere, if I can go with $250,000, $300,000 today, there's a chance for me to really build a good life for myself.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened.
No.
That's not what happened.
And we just realized that 300,000 back home is not the same 300,000 here.
Correct.
300,000 back home, you're like, how much is this hotel, right?
Right. You're $300,000 back home. You're buying your Trump. You're basically Trump. You're developing hotels. $300,000 in the United States. But even then, in 2001, $300,000 in the United States is still a lot of money.
Right.
But when you don't know the culture, you don't know the language that well, you don't know the moves to make, how quickly did that money disappear?
And within the year or two, I mean, our dad left everything we had, friends, family members, just for us, so we can go to university and get the American dream.
Yeah.
So we're like, we needed a car, right? So you cannot get a lease. We don't have a credit score. So
Right.
my dad had to pay lease up front for the whole 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's like right there, 20,000, 30,000. Then we had to live somewhere because we first lived at my uncle's, my dad's brother, my uncle's place for the first like 2-3 weeks. So then they're like, all right, well, we can't live in someone's house,
Sure.
and especially if you have money. So we had to buy a house. We can't get a mortgage. My dad bought a house, I don't know, 180,000, something like that. So within, like my brother said, a year and a half, that money's poof.
That's the thing, right? Think about how valuable credit is. And so you come here, you're not established. It's no different than when someone goes to prison for 15, 20 years. They serve their time, they come out. Well, you were gone for 15, 20 years. You have no credit. You have no credit card. You were paying no electricity bill, water bill. So you come out of prison, you have zero credit. You come here from a foreign country, you have zero credit, which means if you want a car, buy it cash.
Up front, yeah.
You want to buy a house, buy it cash up front. No one's giving you a mortgage.
Yeah.
No one's giving your dad a mortgage. And so that money starts disappearing quickly. And the part of the story that you told me where within a year and a half, your dad's changing out toilets. Like, how does he end up changing out toilets? Like, that's not the vision he had when he brought you guys there.
Yeah.
Like, he probably was like, I'm going to come here with this money and my wife's going to stay at home and do what a stay-at-home wife does. That's the vision that he had. He's a traditional husband, father. Yet you guys come here and it's very different after a year and a half. Describe that lifestyle.
As kids, we're seeing our dad from being like serial entrepreneur, like cars, security, you name it, and then trying to find his way into a different culture, different language. And he was figuring out how to make money, right? He got 2 boys that are going to school, ready to go to college, has a wife, has responsibilities, but then the scenario changed, the game, the environment changes. So he started doing the construction. He got a license of a general contractor. And then, he would pick up good jobs, but sometimes there's a small remodeling bathroom.
Yeah.
That maybe he wouldn't want to take, but guess what? The bills are due.
Right.
The kids' school, lunch, everything is due. So he'll pick the jobs, start picking up the jobs maybe he wasn't really wanted to pick up.
Right.
Because it's not about what you want, it's what what is required of you as a man.
What you have to do. Exactly. So he's picking up jobs. Obviously, he had no intention. The plan wasn't for also you guys to become a 2-income household. So he's picking up side jobs and doing remodels on small units and stuff. And again, what he had in his mind's eye was, I'm going to come here with $250,000, $300,000, secure my kids' future, put them through high school, send them to university, give them the opportunity for the American dream. Mm-hmm. Wife's going to stay at home, raise the kids, right? Be there for the boys. But very quickly, what does your mom end up doing?
So she started doing different jobs. She started working at daycares, working with kids, being a nanny, this was for us was like a shock first. Vaz and I was.
Mom was working, like she was always home with us.
Yeah,
it's like
you literally grew up just like I did.
Yeah.
Mom was always home.
Yeah,
like that's a cool way to grow up. Like to know that your mom is there to nurture you, to support you, to be there for you. That's obviously the reason your dad brought you guys here, because now if I can put them in a better country with mom still at home, what a great opportunity. But that's not what happened.
Yeah. I mean, it was to the point that it would be my dad going to the construction site with my mom, and then us two. And then 4 of us are working on the property, doing some work. I mean, that was very, very hard for me to understand what's going on. Why did we come to this land of opportunity? Because before moving to America, I thought America was a Disney World.
Right.
Because our relatives would send us pictures. It would be either the beach or
Disney
a park,
World.
right? I didn't know. I thought it was an amazing vacation.
You watch the movies. You're like,
Right.
wow, we can't wait to get there. Like first of all, when Dad told us we're moving to America, I was just super excited because I was like, I always like Tupac.
Yeah.
I like the beat, but I didn't know what the heck he's talking about. So I'm like, once we move, I'm gonna learn English. I'm gonna know what he's singing. Finally.
I love that. So you're listening. So in Armenia, let's just paint this picture. In Armenia, you're listening to Tupac. You're like, I know I like this guy, but damn it, if I just understood the language, I could actually know what the fuck he's saying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. It would be like if you're American, you're born here and you go to Mars, and you're all of a sudden your technology doesn't work on Mars. There is no Wi-Fi, and these Martians have a very different way of life, and they have a different language, and they drive these spaceships that you're not even used to seeing, right?
Yeah.
That would be the modern day equivalent.
That's a good point.
Isn't that true?
That's true. Yeah.
People don't realize. They're like, well, it's 2024, it's 2025. I can go to any country and get. Yes, you can. Today we can. But if you want the experience that we had, you got to go to Mars. You got to go to Pluto. You got to go to a whole different planet where things are very different. Obviously, now at this point, the $250,000, $300,000 is, for lack of a better term, squandered. There's no credit. So buy a car, buy a modest house. The idea was that mom would stay home and keep raising you guys as you guys go to high school. But before you know it, dad's taken on this contract. He's doing construction and stuff, and he's taking on weird little jobs. And you guys and mom are there on the work site helping him.
Yeah,
right?
we would do it after school. We would help out. Then my mom gets different jobs. Then we all start going to college. And the thing is, I'll tell you, we like going to school and stuff like that. But I'm not doing my best. I'm kind of cruising. I'm a teenager.
Yeah.
So and then I start seeing my mom going to different types of jobs. For example, like she would wake up at 4:00 in the morning now to go to a pretzel factory. And I'm like, well, that's hard. That's a hard job. It's a hard labor, and for cheap, like $8 they were paying her.
Yeah.
Check. She was probably getting like $5.25 take home
After taxes, right?
So like, if you think about it, you do after taxes $5 an hour. You do 40 hours there, dude. That's $200.
Right.
And the last point that really pushed me to brought fire in me was when they didn't pay her for the last 2 weeks. They fired her, and then they didn't pay her for the last 2 weeks. So it was like $387 that they didn't pay her.
Which is a lot of money for anyone, but especially for your family as new immigrants to this country. And your mom is working at a pretzel factory and they fire her and they don't pay her the last 2 weeks. And that sets off this thing inside you, right? Like, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to make my way in this country in a way that money never becomes an issue again, which that's what the three of us have in common. You guys know my story. My sister, who's 16 years older than me, so she was almost like my sister and my mom, right? Because she helped raise me. When we came here, she was working at a pizzeria as a waitress, making like $4 an hour under the table. And her boss was making sexual advances at her. And she would come home crying to my dad, like, I want to quit this job. And my dad, he didn't want to say this, but he was like, just another month, work there another month, just stick with it for another month. We need the money, right? So we can move out of the Section 8 housing complex that we lived in. And I remember thinking to myself, like, and telling my sister, like, one day I'm going to be so rich, you'll never have to work again, right? And here we are the last 15 years, my sister doesn't work. I just pay for her lifestyle, her home and everything. There always has to be a trigger inside of someone's heart that sets you off. Like, it's literally the hero's journey, right? Like, you're not just going to be sitting there and all of a sudden be inspired to change the world, to go out and make a lot of money and take care of your family. There's going to be something that is going to trigger you to do that. Now, myself and you guys included could have been like, fuck this country. Because the trigger could also set you the other way, right? Yeah. You look at people who, when something bad happens to them, they go, you know what? Obviously, this country's not for me. It hates immigrants, tells me to go back to my own country, doesn't appreciate my mom, and so fuck this country. I guess because we're foreigners and blue collar, we're always supposed to stay broke, and you could adopt that mindset. Yeah. That's one path to take. And a lot of you out there will take that path, and you'll choose victimhood because it is the easier path with least resistance. Yes. Yep. And when people go, oh man, I'm so sorry that happened to your mom and dad. You guys don't deserve that. You're right. Immigrants have a hard time. They help reinforce this shitty victimhood story. Yep. But both you guys and I took another path when that happened. Obviously, your mom and dad, one of their big dreams was to bring you to the United States so that you can experience this higher level of education and come out of university and get great jobs. So I'm sure that worked out fine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah. That's what we thought. This is...
Walk us through that.
So again, we're young, so parents are learning from others, and this is the American dream. Your kids will go to college, they make $50,000, $60,000 a year, they'll go on vacation twice a year. This is the American dream. So they start telling us that, and I'm looking at my dad like he's the serial entrepreneur, like he would be making that kind of money back home. Yeah. And obviously things are more expensive here. I couldn't understand why he would tell me that. But I was like, I trusted the process. So Vaz and I went to university. Vaz went to Penn State, and I went to Drexel University, both engineers. Yeah. Finished school, and then it's 2010. After 2008, we know what happened with the economy. So nobody literally is hiring, especially a young immigrant that speaks good English, obviously is smart, but has no experience. Like, we need people to come out of the stuff with experience. Right. Companies are looking for talents, not like to teach somebody, invest in them when they have no money. Right.
So let's just draw that picture again. I mean, it's you guys are in university when the housing market crashes, right? Okay. 2008, the housing market crashes. And, those of you that are younger, you don't know your history, go back and look. It was equated to the Great Depression. Unemployment rate for the first time in my lifetime in the United States had hit double digits. Mm-hmm. And I know this because I remember thinking, I just started Fit Body Bootcamp, the franchise, in 2010. And I remember thinking, who the hell is going to buy a franchise when everyone's losing their homes, their income, their jobs? Yeah. And I'm trying to start a gym franchise. And I remember having to work 10 or 20 times harder in that window of time as an entrepreneur to achieve like 1 or 2 sales. Mm-hmm. A month. Like today we're selling 6 to 8, 9, 10 locations a month, but 1 or 2 sales a month and by the way, the price of the franchise was so much lower back then. Mm-hmm. Like today it's $54,000 to buy into a Fit Body Bootcamp franchise. It's still a great price, and we give so much support for our franchisees, et cetera. But in 2010, when I started the franchise, it wasn't $54,000. And I'm thinking like unemployment is at 11%, double digits. The economy just crashed. Yeah. Who the hell is going to invest in this? And I've refinanced my house to use as startup capital to go into Fit Body Bootcamp. Wow. So my equivalent of refinancing the house is your equivalent of taking out college loans.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You guys took out college loans. Hey, we're going to go be engineers. And when you got into university, the economy hadn't crashed yet. In fact, the economy was thriving. Everybody I knew in 2005, 6, even early 2007 was a real estate agent and was a real estate mogul. Like you could buy a shit shack and within 4 months, it's quadrupled in price.
Yeah.
Before 2008.
Everyone was a genius back then.
Everybody was a genius, yeah. And so you guys are seeing, probably I imagine if I'm in your shoes, you're like, okay, there's a good job market out there. The economy's thriving. We're going to get out as engineers. Yeah, we're going to have college debt, but we're going to get out as engineers and do well for ourselves.
Right.
But as you're in university, the economy crashes big time, double-digit unemployment rates. No one's hiring. They're not looking to take 2 brand new engineers and give you the experience. They want someone experienced to come in so that you can help their business grow better, faster. So, but now you guys have debt. You can't get a job as engineers. And I didn't know this. You were telling me yesterday that when you're done with college or university, 6 months later, you got to start repaying back your college loans.
Yeah.
So walk me through that and what happens during the job search.
Yeah, the buffer is 6 months. So time is ticking. As soon as you come out, you got to find the job because the payment's about to start hitting. So there's 2 options. One is you can go back to school. A lot of our friends did that to get their master's, PhDs, because then if you're back in school, then it prolongs the payment.
Right.
Or you got to find the job quick. So again, as soon as we come out of college, it's like slam into reality of life. Like that's it, go. So Vaz finds the job first.
I just got lucky, and that job was above my, because I went as electrical engineer bachelor's. The only way to get a job there, you have to have a master's.
Okay.
So I just got lucky, and I was just doing the work that was above my knowledge, even I would say. And we were celebrating. It was like $55,000 a year. I was like, okay, we got.
How did you land that? Did you just lie to them and say, "Hey, I know these skill sets," or
it was a job career. They go to college, Penn State, and then I would just talk to recruiters.
Right.
I told them, hey, I would just always do more than the school.
Got it.
If the school required me to do a certain project, I would just always do more.
Okay.
Because like me and my brother were like always trying to get the American dream.
Yeah.
And like I always thought, I mean, our dad told us, and we always thought the American dream is to go to college, get a job, and then I can, with my job, I can support my wife and have kids, and then just have an amazing life.
Yeah.
And it was so far from the truth. Because before, back in the day, in the 70s, maybe in the 80s, you can live off one household income. You can live off one skill, of learning one skill, and just that would be enough, and I can pass it on to generations.
Right.
Now things are completely different. The new American dream, you got to learn 5 to 6 skills a year, not in a lifetime. So everything is so different nowadays. So, and we had to learn the hard way to go through this, to understand this.
Yeah, Vas is being very modest. He has a very tough interview process. And I remember him coming back home with that, because our dad is a very smart guy. He has very good math and physics. So they were testing logic for Vas. And there was a lot of different people at the interview because, again, they have one position, but there's like 15 people.
Right.
So they were doing bring 15 people in. They didn't want to waste no time.
Oh, so it's not even one-on-one interviews.
Oh, that was it's actually I forgot. I went to the headquarters, and the interview process was 8 hours long.
8 hour long.
I've never in my life ever.
These bitches out here will come and be like, how long is this interview going to be at Fit Body Boot Camp headquarters? Is it going to be more than 30 minutes? Shut the fuck up. Here you are going through an 8 hour interview.
Yeah, it was like different people. It's like, because it was like my job essentially, because I'm an electrical engineer. It was a hardware programming. You're doing VHDL. So it was intense. They wanted to test every different.
Sure.
It was 5 people interviewing me.
And the logic was the big one. They were doing these cases like you have a car and you have this much gas and you have and then how far what's the furthest you can drive? So it's like you drive, you leave a bucket of whatever fuel's there and then you come back. It's like he passed all the freaking, and then I remember me, Dad, and Vaz were discussing, and Dad was like, you got this one right? And it's like, I think you're gonna do it. And then you got a call and he gets the job.
Sure enough.
It was crazy. We were celebrating. It was like, first person got in the corporate world, a job. It was like a big deal for us.
So he gets the job, but now the timer also begins, right? How long after graduating did you get that job?
Within a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, we know that when you graduate, boom, the timer begins. I got to start paying off my college debt within 6 months. You're like, okay, I've got this job, 8-hour interview, all of that. How long did it take for you to get a job if you even got one?
I got one like 4 or 5 months in.
Okay, so you're right there.
I was like, I was right there
Yeah.
at that time. And I got a job, but mine was $48,000 a year.
Wow.
Lower.
Yeah.
And at 4,000 minus the taxes, I was making like 3 maybe.
Yeah.
And I got loan for like $200,000. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Share can both of you share that with our audience? When I tell you guys that you don't need to go to university, you don't need to go to college unless you're going to be a doctor, unless you're going to be specifically an engineer and it's going to be your career, which obviously with you guys it wasn't. You guys parlayed into being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Doctor, engineer, lawyer. You don't need to go learn sociology or fucking gender studies. I can tell you, male, female. There you go, gender studies. And what was the amount of loan that each of you had to take for university?
So mine was the Drexel University, which is like a private school. So it was $30,000 a year. I was getting a little bit of FAFSA, and I was still getting like $20,000 in loans.
Yeah.
So at the senior year was like already 50 something. So it was close to 200,000 for me.
$200,000 that you had to pay back.
Payback, yeah.
Right, Voss. What about you?
So for me, it was a little bit less because Penn State is the cheapest school, and
Yeah.
now it's like it's probably double, triple in the price. But I would do wrestling. I would join the chess club. I would do everything I can. If you're in the chess club, it lowers it by $1,000.
Right.
So I would always look into different stuff to try to lower it, and I was probably like around 40,000 for me.
Okay.
But
So you're coming out with $40,000 in school loans. You're coming out with $200,000 in school loans, right? Which is pretty much what your dad came to America with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And now you got to pay that back off of the salary that you're making.
With interest.
With interest, by the way, in an economy that has 2 years earlier gone into the toilet. And so now let's fast forward. How long after that you guys decide like, hey, this isn't for us. This isn't going to work out. Like at some point, did you stumble upon the idea of being an entrepreneur, or did your dad inspire you? Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, definitely. I think it inspired us from being with our father and seeing him kind of in Soviet Union working in a factory.
Yeah.
And then when the Soviet Union broke down, then he started buying stuff here, selling over there, the commerce stuff, and then how we quickly were able to afford a better life. So we're like, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it, not the factory working at the factory. So because there's a much better growth opportunity when you start hustling yourself and figure out, all right, if I buy cameras over here, right, sell them on eBay, stuff like that. So we saw that growing up, but then we came to America, and then he tells us to, be the factory worker, basically, pretty much working for the corporation. So that was a disconnect, but I was like, I guess it works in this country. It didn't work. But the reality is, like,
It doesn't work
anywhere.
Yeah. The factory owner makes the money. Not the guy or gal working in the factory in the assembly line. It's ironic that you say that. My dad was a tailor in Armenia. We come to the United States. After 3 years, he puts together enough money to buy a tiny little tailor shop in Anaheim, California, 30 miles from here. His aspiration for me was to take over the tailor shop. And I'm like, dude, I could have been a tailor in Armenia. Why did we even come here?
Yeah.
But I think they have this vision in their heads that at least you're a tailor in America, right? At least you're an engineer in a country that's not oppressive, that gives you greater opportunity if you want it. And I think that's where we had to decide, like, no, I think I'm going to go against my dad's wishes and start doing something different. And you saw your dad do that when obviously communism fell. He leaves the factory and he's like, all right, I'm going to start buying something here and selling it there. And the difference in income is my profit.
Right.
And so what was that first entrepreneurial step you guys took?
I mean, we always try to take entrepreneurship, even from like when we moved, like we have to think of outside the box. We did VHS tapes, converted into DVDs.
Yeah.
As kids. So we knew like there's a lot of people that came from overseas, and we didn't have DVDs there. We had the VHS tapes.
Right.
So we're like, what about we're going to convert their old memories from back home into DVDs so they can watch it with.
Brilliant.
So that was our first business.
Yeah.
And then like
at what age was that?
13, 14.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so you're hustling early.
We're hustling. Yeah.
In college, I would buy on eBay broken iPhones because iPhones it was like 2007, 2008, 2009. I would buy like 10 of them a week. I would fix them up if it's a
Replace the
software,
screen.
hardware, screen issues, and I would just resell it back
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, on Craigslist back in the day, they used to be
Brilliant.
popular.
So it's like we always were like we have to figure out because we needed to live in college. Like my budget was $20 a week in college,
$20 a week.
and I had to figure out how to make it.
There was a time, and this is true, the American dream used to be
Yeah.
you get out of university, you have a skill, you're an accountant, you're an engineer, you're whatever, and then you work for this big factory that was created by somebody back in the day, and they give you a 401k, you have health benefits, you get your cost of living raises, and maybe you graduate or you retire from there 25, 30 years later, and you get a watch and you get a pension, and that money during that time, especially with low cost of inflation, you could take care of your family. Your wife could stay home.
Yes.
You could even have 2 cars. That was the American dream. And I think when people are like, hey, I want the American dream, that's what they picture. And that is now the American nightmare. That doesn't exist. You cannot come out, as you guys proved in 2010.
Yes.
You cannot come out of university with a degree in engineering from Penn State.
Yes.
And what was it, university?
Drexel University.
Drexler, like both great universities.
Yeah, right.
You can't do it. It's impossible. And so you said something earlier. Gone are the days of having that one skill, whether the skill is accounting. And remember, I've got coaching clients who are doctors. I've got coaching clients who are engineers. I've got coaching clients who are coaches. I got coaching clients who are real estate investors. I got coaching clients that are developers of giant, mega warehouses, et cetera. And every single one of them who are multimillionaires, just like you guys, have multiple skills. And you had figured that out. Like, all right, in college, if I want to be able to have anything more than $20 a week to live off of, I'm going to figure out, because I'm guessing Penn State didn't teach you how to take apart an iPhone and fix the screen and the software and the hardware.
No.
You figured that out.
Oh, yes, of course.
And so you developed skills. Y'all know this. We talk about developing high-income skills, solving problems in exchange for money. So you're buying broken down iPhones from eBay, 5, 10 at a time, figuring out how to fix it, and then reselling it on Craigslist for a profit, right?
Yes.
Which was not what your degree was in.
No.
It was not iPhone repairman, right? And so developing multiple skills. And as you said earlier, the new American dream is to be able to evolve and constantly develop new skill sets. Like what we're doing here, when you're coaching with me upstairs during our half day, you guys are developing new skill sets as broadcasters, as content creators, right? Which, by the way, all of you should follow them on YouTube. I'll make sure we drop the link in the comment and pin it for you guys. Amazing, amazing stuff they teach. But both of you are learning new skills even now. Well-established, multiple businesses, multiple millions in revenue, beautiful families. And you're like, look, for us to be relevant moving into 2025 and into the future, we have to develop these new skills
100%.
of content creation, of coaching and consulting. And that's what we're doing here. So as you guys are doing this, your first big business. So you guys had some hustles. The hustles are fixing iPhones, taking VHS and moving it to DVDs. But what is the first potential of a big business where you were like, okay, this could be a multi-million-dollar thing? How does that start? Hey guys, quick interruption to the show. Let me tell you all about the Trulian Wellness Shot. If you're like me and you care about your health, hydration, and building a strong immune system so you can stay active and you can get after it in life, then you want to try the Trulian Wellness Shot. I used to take 11 different supplements in the morning, things like vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin B12, echinacea, ginger, and a whole bunch more. Now it's all included in the Trulian Wellness Shot. I want to send you a 30-day supply for 50% off. Just go to Trulian.com, use the code word BEDROAST, my name, to get 50% off. You'll also get free shipping. You get a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee, and $1 of every order goes to Shriners Children's Hospital. And when you use the code word BEDROAST and do the subscribe and save, which is a Trulian Tribe program, every month you'll get a fresh supply of Trulian Wellness Shots for an additional 20% off and free shipping, and $1 of every monthly order will go to Shriners Children's Hospital. So go to Trillian.com, use code word Bedros, and take advantage of this amazing offer. Now back to the show.
After college graduation, I got a job, and I worked as an engineer for 7 months. I called my brother. I'm like, I can't do this. This is prison for me.
Yeah.
He's like, come on, man. You work so hard, this and that. Like, so many loans. So many. I'm like, I can't. Like, I gained 20 pounds. I have a cubicle. It doesn't. The window is like a mile away. I'm in prison, man.
I had the window.
Seems like you constantly had the better opportunities here. Yeah, yeah. He's got a better paying job. He's got the window. You're like looking at a window for like 20 miles away. It looks like a pinhole. Yeah,
it was a smart one. So I was like, I'd say I'm quitting. He's like, what are we gonna do? I'm like, I'll figure it out. So I quit. He stays at the corporate job. I quit my job, and then we kind of started looking into different industries, start scanning different things. What can we do? And I started looking into the FedEx logistics delivery business. A lot of people don't know that you can be a contractor for FedEx ground. Like UPS, you have to work there as a union, but FedEx is kind of like a franchise model for those that people know, but being a contractor.
So just to explain to our audience, there's probably FedEx trucks driving around everywhere USA.
Right.
Those trucks are not owned by FedEx.
No.
Yes.
They're owned by guys like you.
Yes.
Yep.
And someone might have one, someone might have a fleet.
Yes.
And so you started to look into that.
Started looking into that. So this is 2010, 2011. And I'm like, iPhone's already big, this and that, internet, right? People are shopping online, less brick and mortar. So me and Val seeing a trend where the malls, nobody's going to be going to the malls as much. People are going to be buying more stuff online. So instead of trying to figure out what to sell online, because that constantly changes, why don't we do the delivery? So as people grow, it doesn't matter what they buy, we're going to be delivering more. We're going to have more and more business coming.
Brilliant. Let me stop you right there. Don't forget what you were saying. Big lesson for you guys watching this right now. and you talked about this at Triple S, which I'm going to have you explain in just a minute. But you have to constantly be scanning, which is the first S. You have to be scanning the landscape. And so you're seeing right then, as you guys were about to graduate, or you guys were in university when the iPhone came out. By the time you're out of the university, now there's probably a second generation of iPhones, and you're repairing them and fixing them. And we're seeing the internet take off, right? Google and Google, YouTube starts popping off 2008, 2009. Facebook, I think, comes online in 2009, 2010. Online shops, Amazon is now starting to thrive. And as you're scanning, and what are we scanning for? We're scanning for opportunities and problems, opportunities that we can exploit, and you're scanning for problems that you can solve. And you were like, all right, there's all this commerce happening online now, like Amazon and people starting their own businesses and companies and
eBay.
It's
big, yeah.
Someone's got to deliver these goods. Okay. The constant is, I don't know. There's too much change right now in e-commerce, so that's a little higher risk. But the constant is someone's got to deliver these things from a warehouse to someone's front door.
Correct.
Maybe that could be us.
Yeah.
So you started to look for a problem to solve, delivery, right? And so go ahead and pick it up from there.
So also when we scan for something, we're also looking to be able to scale it. So that's why it was a good opportunity. So
And that's the second S.
Yes. So first you identify, and then you're like, is that scalable? Because you could be like, oh, we should do a good restaurant here, but then you have to be able to scale it. So you can't really do it with one. So we start looking into it. In 2013, I buy a truck and I start delivering on it myself. And that was a big ego that I had to swallow, because a lot of people started saying, oh, look at this guy, engineer, being a mailman now.
Right.
Delivering packages, carrying boxes.
Right.
It's a tough job. It's a greasy job.
Yeah.
200 packages out of the truck.
You went to a very prestigious university and got an engineering degree and a $200,000 school loan to have a white-collar job. And now you voluntarily, by choice, because you saw opportunity, a problem to solve, got into a truck, and you're like, I'm going to figure this out. But people around are saying, look at this poor sap. He's got an engineering degree, and now he's driving a truck like a mailman, delivering boxes and doing blue-collar work.
Right.
And so how often, again, so many great lessons here, that we have to be humble, and internally you see the big picture, while everyone externally is like, man, I feel so bad for
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
Here you are trying to figure out, if I can figure out the metrics on this one fucking truck,
Correct.
how much gas it uses, maybe the route that I need to drive, how fast I need to drive without getting a ticket so I can deliver the most amount of boxes. I don't know how the logistics part works, but you know that if I can figure out one truck and the profit margins on one truck, I can scale it to multiple trucks.
Correct.
And then I'm making way more money than 20 engineers put together.
Right.
Right. So you're driving this, you're being a mailman for UP or for FedEx basically. And what are you figuring out?
I'm figuring out, like exactly what you said, all the profit margins, and then how far I can take it.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at who are the biggest people in the game, in the industry, and kind of trying to see what they're doing and how they're doing things. I'm learning. Anywhere we go with Voss, we just observe. We're like sponges. We humble enough, and I don't care. My pride is not in the way because, again, I have that fire in me. My mom will never work at the pretzel factory again. I'll buy this whole fucking world. No one's gonna mess with our family, with our last name, and then no one's gonna treat my mom. Because for us, like where we from, like if I have a problem with you, you know, I can say you're ugly, your family, like you can say like your car is ugly. But if you talk about my mom,
It's over.
like I don't care how big you are, I have to fight you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
That's what
so-
people don't understand about our culture. Like,
Yeah.
especially if you have a sister. My brother would tell me so many fights he would get into in Armenia for the honor of my sister.
Right.
And so I saw that growing up. And so, like, to me, it was immediate. Like, I need to take care of my older. So it didn't matter if she's 16 years older than me. I need to take care of her. And one of the apartment complexes, I went out there trying to fight a dude for my sister's honor. And that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Your sister and your mom, like,
Yeah.
they're on a pedestal, man.
Exactly.
Right? That's exactly it. You could say whatever the fuck you want. But
Yeah.
there's a line where your mom is working at a pretzel factory and they mistreated her in a way that left a scar on both of you, right? And you're like, fuck it, I'll own every pretzel factory in the world. I'll own the world if I have to, so that my mom never has to work and never has to be mistreated. And again, you have to have the fire in the belly, the chip on the shoulder, and the rage in your eyes. We've talked about this in past episodes.
So yeah, you can call me mailman. You can. It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me because I'm on a mission.
You're doing it, yeah.
Yeah. So then, you know, I'm working very, very hard. It's a very tough job. Very tough job. So think about coming out of the truck 250 times a day, but then with
Is
packages.
that the average?
Like if you wanted to make money, it's definitely not an average. The average is like 150, but hey.
But you're a
I'm
savage, not an average.
Average is an enemy. So I'm like, I'm doing 250
Yeah.
out of the truck. And which I liked about this model, it's not per hour really. So they pay you per delivery.
Per delivery.
So now there's an incentive. You can work slower. If you don't need the money, you want to work harder. Versus if they pay you $20 an hour, then it's really not scalable.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw. And then I start acquiring more and more, which is, you know, scaling it. There's different ways. I didn't have the money, so I had to find strategic way how to approach people. Hey, I'll pay you this down payment, 10%, and then kind of pay it off.
Like
Stuff like that.
creating ways of getting into business.
So, and I grew to about, I would say, maybe 15, 20 trucks.
In how much time?
In about 4 or 5 years.
So first truck to
20, it's like 2018. So I started 2013. 2018, I had about 20.
yeah.
And
And are you still working?
Yeah, I'm
Boz?
still working on
You're
it.
still. You're
Yeah,
like, all right. Let me see what bro's doing. Let me see if this is
Yeah.
gonna pan out. Okay, so you're still working as an
But
engineer.
we talk on the phone every single day. We're like, all right, like what can we do? And then that's while he's building that, we're talking about like what can we do to create some kind of passive income? Because business is hard, job is hard. I didn't hate my job as much as he did.
Yeah.
I'm more on like on the safe side. He's more on the high risk side, which is that's what creates an amazing balance.
Yeah.
Having a partner like that,
Yeah.
because we're constantly like yin and yang, pushing each other. But then we start looking into real estate. After reading, like we are big in reading and learning.
Yeah.
We don't have like the number one thing I want everybody to take is like have no ego. It's as soon as a person has an ego, like, well, if you think like you know everything, that's when you stop learning.
Right.
I know like the amount of information you gave us last night it's priceless. I mean, I was taking down notes. Like as long as you know and you learn. And when we started looking into real estate, it was like a aha moment. I was like, whoa, this is like logistics, but like on steroids.
Yeah.
You can scale it 1,000, 10,000x. And we bought our first property. We put the money together, and I forgot how much we put. I think like 20,000 down
Yeah,
payment.
it was a $72,000 row house in Philly.
Yeah.
And we put 20% down, so it was like $9,000 each.
Okay.
And that was what, 20, what year was that?
2016.
2016, our first one. So
Okay.
again, it's like you don't have to start big. A lot
Yeah.
of people, are scared to start. Start small.
One door.
Yeah,
Make
but
all the
It was a
mistakes.
huge light bulb effect for us because our net profit from that property was $300 a month. And when I looked at that money, yeah, it's not a lot of money, but what I did is we put the family cell-phone bill that we had. It was 4 of us at that time.
Yeah.
We were not married yet. So it was my mom, my dad, and me and my brother. And we put the bill of $300. It was AT&T at that time. I was like, I will never have to pay that bill again.
There you go. That
whole
$300 cash flow
Check.
Yeah, pays for that bill.
for that AT&T bill for the
So
family.
we don't have to worry
So I
about
was
it.
like, okay, what's the next thing? Let's get a duplex. That's
Yeah.
going to pay for the cars that
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
And then slowly we will be completely financially free. And at that point, I can take a risk just like he does.
Bingo. As you're scaling the trucks, you guys realize that, holy shit, like real estate is logistics, trucks on steroids. And what we were talking about yesterday, remember the beauty of credit. We talk about credit all the time. The beauty of credit is a year goes by, the home value goes up of that $74,000 home. You, because you have good credit, now you can refinance, take your money out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still own the house. Take your money out. You've got a tenant in there paying your mortgage and giving you $300 net cash flow, right? Paying off your AT&T bill. And now that you refinanced, took your money out, you can put more on top,
Yep.
buy more. Hence the logistics on steroids. And so now you guys are growing the logistics side of the business and real estate, I'm guessing at this point.
Yes.
This is what, 2016, 2017?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And so now here we are, late 2024, as we're recording this, kind of fast track us what happens next between then and now.
So right now we have 9 companies and we do about $25 million in annual revenue. And Vas joined our crazy ventures besides the real estate, I think in 2020. And that's really when we started taking off because there's 2 of us,
Got it. So 2020, you resigned.
Yeah, I quit an engineering job. That was difficult for me because I to leave off because my dad not brainwashed me, but he told me.
Yeah, they encourage us, they brainwash us to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
He was actually upset when I left the job. He's like,
Sure.
why would you leave that? Because at that point I was already making good money as well too.
Right.
Yeah, but now that I'm a parent myself, I always also wanted something good for my kids, but something safe. If they would be like, oh, I want to jump out of the plane with no I would not encourage him to do that because
Right.
I'd be like, that's crazy. I want him to be well and
Yeah.
taken care of and fed.
Yeah.
So that's what our parents wanted
That's what they were
to
doing.
do.
They want the best for us,
Yeah.
but sometimes, and yet another lesson, we talk about this on the show, sometimes the people around you who tell you, be careful, be safe, watch out, what if it doesn't work? They don't want bad for you.
Yeah.
They're people who love you.
Yeah.
They might be transferring their feelings on you because, look, our parents, maybe they don't feel like they know how to scale a logistics company and invest in real estate. But we're like, hey, you brought us here. You empowered us. To me, it's not as risky.
Yeah.
And so you had to go against their wishes, right?
Yeah.
To be able to make this leap of faith. And today you own 9 companies, annual revenues of 25 million.
Yeah.
And if you've got some young, hopeful entrepreneurs sitting across from you, what are the lessons from the time you graduated university to right now as you're scaling these companies, these brands that you guys have, and we're about to take this to $100 million in annual revenue. What are some of the big lessons that you guys can give to these younger entrepreneurs or even people older than you? We've got listeners in their 50s, 60s who are like, hey, is it too late? No, it's not too late. Colonel Sanders started KFC at 62 years old.
Yeah.
It's not too late. So what are some big takeaways and lessons for
I
them?
mean, number one, don't go to college. We're in 2024. There's no need. There's a lot of free information out there. And then second thing is I was like, get a mentor. That's a shortcut. When you teaching us certain stuff, you basically giving us a shortcut.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things is like people want to open up a restaurant. I'll just make an example.
Yeah.
And they're gonna go to business management and go to school for like $50,000 a year and take, it's gonna cost them $300,000 after 5 years. And they're like, can you open a business? You have no idea how to open a restaurant.
Right.
But that's what you wanted to do. That's what you went to school for. The way I would do it, I would find a very successful restaurant owner, not one, but maybe 5, 6, 7. So it's proven models, not just he got lucky in one location.
Right.
And then see if they have a coaching program. They're gonna tell me where to buy the forks, where to buy the materials. Should I buy a table for like $50,000? It doesn't make sense. No, buy these for 20 because then the price ticket on every ticket, like the management system, like everything. Yeah. And I can probably do it within maybe 6 months of that coaching for like, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. So I saved 4 years of time in college, and then I know where to buy it's just, you just go. This is how we used to.
Straight line.
Like, the classroom things, I don't think it really works. What works is like, if I want to learn how to hunt, you're just going to take me and we're going to go shoot. I'm going to miss. Yeah. And I'm going to, how do I skin an animal? This is how I learn. Versus right now, you're going to have a PowerPoint presentation, you aim, you shoot. Like, that's not how humans really learn.
Yeah, we learn through trial and through experience. And you make such a good point. If I'm going to open up, my dream is to open up a restaurant or restaurants, let's say. I'm going to use that exact example you said. Okay, I can go get a degree in business management with the hope that I can manage my business and my payroll and my employees and whatever. But a professor typically professes, they don't practice. Whereas I can go find an entrepreneur that owns 5 pizzerias, if my goal is to own a chain of pizzerias. And if they offer any kind of coaching, hey, can I pay you something to mentor me? They go, sure. And if they don't, I might go work for them. Now it's a paid mentorship. Right. Now I'm getting paid to learn. Where's he buying his forks, his napkins, his cups? What about the dough? What about the ingredients? And how long? How big is the fridge? What's the square footage of every location? Right? All those things matter. And you're not learning that in a classroom environment. And that's the biggest thing to stress is you have to get off the bleachers and get on the field if you want to win at the game of life. And that's what you guys have done every single time. Like the common thread in this whole story is you guys kept putting yourself back on the field. Even when you're in university, you're like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to rebuild these iPhones and sell them for a profit. And I'm going to figure out how these trucks are working because you scanned. By the way, we do need to share the 3 S's. You scanned and you saw what changes were happening.
Right.
With internet and e-commerce, and you're like, all right, there's a problem that's going to come up. The problem is going to be delivery. I'm going to have some of the solutions. And how many trucks do you guys have now?
I have 125 trucks.
125 trucks. And let me guess, neither one of you are driving any of them, right? No. And that's the whole idea here.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea here. So let's wrap up by you sharing those 3 S's, like that system so that our audience can find opportunities for themselves in the future.
Yeah. So the first one is the scan. You look at the opportunities, right? There is a saying like the strongest to survive. If you see that, like cross out the strongest and put the most adaptive. I mean, it sounds cliche, but that's so true.
Yeah, most adaptive will survive.
Yes.
Yep.
So you have to scan. Like right now, there's like a big thing in AI and all there. And some people be like, oh, I don't want to learn that. That's fine. But then, you're digging your own grave. So when we saw the opportunities on the internet, we started scanning into, all right, what could it be? So we went to the deliveries. So look at any industry and see what if you can solve anything. So start scanning like where you're good at. So once you do that, you figure out the model and you pinpoint into one thing. How much one pizza can make me? How much one pizzeria shop can make me? So, and then you start scaling it. So we don't like the ideas of like, I'm gonna make a new bicycle that's gonna have 7 wheels now. Yeah, it might work, or like an app, and then Facebook might buy it. It happens, but it's not really a scalable thing. You're kind of shooting in the dark, and if you miss, you're screwed. Versus, you try to food pizzeria and you wanted to do 100, and maybe you'll have 80. Okay, well, maybe you're not going to make $1 million a month. Maybe you'll make 800,000.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you don't cry too hard in your Mercedes or whatever you're into. So then you scale that as a second S. And the third S, which is very important in business, you got to sell it. A lot of people like to build something they're going to pass on, but at the end of the day, you have to know that it has to have value and then you'll be able to sell it if you want to. So those are the true assets that we really work on, and it's kind of helping us to.
Beautiful. So you're scanning and looking for opportunities and problems to solve, opportunities to exploit and problems to solve, in wherever the world is transitioning to, internet, social media, whatever. So I'm going to scan and find opportunities and problems. 2, I'm going to go, is this thing scalable? Can I scale it, have more of it, do more of it? 3, can I sell it? And the selling piece is important because at the end of the day, like, I didn't inherit my dad's tailor business. I didn't want the tailor shop. And so if my dad, and he was able to sell his business. But imagine if he had 5 tailor shops, right? He could have said, all right, people have clothes, they need them altered. Got it. I scanned and I found the problem. I'm going to be the solution. And if he was able to then create 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 tailor shops, then he would have sold for hundreds of thousands, if not millions, instead of selling his one shop back in whenever it was for like 60 grand, right?
Yeah,
so basically paid for his lifestyle and over the years, and then he sold for 60 grand.
A lot of people don't know that. So if you're able to scale it, the multiple on your sale grows.
Huge.
Because if you have one location, God forbid there's a construction, flood, or something else, or maybe you got lucky, or maybe people came to your tailor shop because you're the tailor. So if I were to buy it, maybe people wouldn't come to me. But if you have 5, 6 tailor shops, now it's a system in place. You have something where it's a name, and people, it's so then the value goes up. Bingo. Because the risk is less.
Exactly. And that's what people are buying. When they're buying a chain or a franchise, right? People don't know this, but there are 7 Burger King franchise owners on the stock market. Like, they've taken it public because they own 200 Burger Kings.
Oh, wow.
Like, one franchisee will own 200 Burger Kings. And so they're like, hey, we're going to go public. And so that's not even the franchisor. That's the franchisees that own so many Burger Kings because they proved that they can run 200 locations. Now they go public, get more capital, scale it to 300, 400 locations, right? There's 7 of those that have gone public, which people are like, oh, look at that burger. What you see is a burger joint on the corner. What you don't realize is there's an empire behind that. And just replace burger joint with tailor shop, with gym, with logistics, with anything. If you can scan, scale, and sell, make it sellable, you have now created an opportunity for yourself. Anything else to add before we wrap this episode up?
Yeah, I would just say, like, to people, like, surround yourself, like, I'm always big, surround yourself who you want to be. If you ask, like, the 5 people I hang out with, the 5 people I'm always around with, the 5 people I work with, are they the type of people I want to be, where I want to go to? And then just try, surround yourself. That's why I love spending time with you. I love spending time with my brother because we better each other. So just surround with the people who you want to become.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Where can our audience find you guys if they want to hear more, learn more from you guys?
So we have a YouTube channel. It's called New American Dream. Like, we were so inspired to able to switch gears when we realized, like, the old American dream is dead. So we were able to adapt to entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So we really wanted to show people, if 2 immigrants, they came here with no connections, no network, no English, able to figure it out, you can as well. And we want to inspire other people and then give them value. So New American Dream is
the YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel.
Beautiful. Well, guys, thank you so much, first of all, for spending time with us and imparting this knowledge. I know you guys are flying off back to Florida tomorrow, right? In the meantime, guys, thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Bedros Keuilian Show. It's a YouTube exclusive. Be sure to follow Ashot and Vazgen on their YouTube channel. We're going to pin it here in the comments and also in the description box of this episode. Understand that the American dream, as your parents and grandparents knew it, is dead. The American dream, the new American dream, is alive and well. And this episode was a masterclass on how any of you, immigrant or born here, can achieve that American dream. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share. And above all, remember that average is the enemy, that success is your responsibility, and change can take place in an instant if you are willing to flip the switch. I'll see you next time.